afternoon all, welcome to this week's edition of Not the Life of the Rich and Famous. We're well and truly into the grind on this axle now, but we are most of the way through. So we're on to the back spring, been over them with the wire wheel on the angle grinder, the old wheel of death. Although the spring has had a couple of replacement leaves in it, the main body of it is actually the original, and there's quite a nice tag on this. I'm not sure whether you can get that, but basically it says Fox, it's a Fox clip, there's a part number there and then a date of 673. This truck came out of the factory in August 73. That's quite a nice thing if you're a bit of an anorak, I suppose. This is the last leaf to do, it's the top leaf. It's got the bushes, or what remains of the bushes. We're obviously going to pull them. You can see this one's gone right the way through. Some of you will be familiar with Leyland or ERF, Seddon Atkinson product, will be more used to a full length bush. Foden has had half bushes for whatever reason, don't know why that is. I've got some replacements, got plenty of replacement bushes on stock, and we're going to rebush all of them, you know. So the back end, you've two in the spring and one in the swinger, so you've three either side, so that's 6 for the back end, same for the front. So I've at least 12 bushes, so we should be okay. So all I'm going to do with this is get it ground up with the wire wheel, and then we might even get some paint on this afternoon. Right, well I'm pleased to say, and I am pleased to say, that's done. That's all 10 leaves out of that offside rear spring completed now. We've got the other side to do, but what I'm going to do is get these painted first. I always say to people, if you're going to do a restoration, make sure it's something you want to restore, because it's the jobs like this that will stall it, because it's nothing but misery. You know, this back axle, I said it, you know, when we started to do the strip down, it was just going to be a big heavy mauling job, and that's all it's been, but it's been a necessity. But it's another job off the list, so you know, we've done this spring, we're about to paint it. We've got one more spring to do. The front spring's already done. Comes to suspension, we're 75% there, aren't we? All good. Well, as you can see, we've moved out to the larger of the two paint spraying areas. It's cloudy but overcast. I think we stand a good chance of getting both sides of these etch primered, and a really good chance of getting at least one side in colour today. So let's crack on. Probably been a couple of hours since I painted these now, and whilst they're still slightly tacky, they're good enough because I can flip them over now and paint the other side. Remember, this is just about rust prevention, so if we need to go back and touch the odd scratch up with a brush, it doesn't really matter. You won't see that surface, it's going to have another spring sat on top of it. So I'll get them flipped and we'll get some more paint on. Morning all. There are obviously many reasons to break out the Vimto and have a celebration, and today's celebration is this is the very last spring leaf that I have to clean up. I've done the offside rear spring. This is the near side rear spring. This afternoon we're going to get on with painting. It's bank holiday, 18th of April. So hopefully by this evening we'll have these in colour. But ultimately we're really making good progress here. So this is really the last job we're going to do on the rear axle until we start assembly, which is great news for me because if I'm really honest, I've had the rear axle up to my back teeth. Anyway, I'm going to put my glass outside in the sunshine and we'll get on with cleaning this up. Super. That's us. That will definitely do us. Right, little job here to sort out on the spring. This fox clip's obviously loose. It's lost its rivet. Still got the other one in place. So I think what we'll do, because again we're not going to be pulling, you know, maximum weight. We're not going to be worrying about it. We're probably going to clamp it, clean everything up here, and fill that with mig. Tidy that one up, fill that with mig. I don't really want to put a stripe down the other side, either side, because it just looks, well, it just looks a bit rubbish, doesn't it? So let's see if we can do a neat job of that. Right, I've made some modifications to the MIG welder. So the first thing I've done is put this new torch on it, which is a Parker. It's got a really nice swivelling neck on it. The MIG wasn't on a Euro torch, it was on a hardwired one. So this is a Euro torch, MB15 setup. So I'm expecting better things from this. And I've also replaced a bearing which was on the wire feed. So I'm hoping that improves things. We've not really had a go with it yet. From a fox clip perspective, you can see that we've ground it up. We've got our mold grips in place, and we just need to give it some MIG and see what it does. Well, the MIG's worked well. This one with a bit of paint on it, that's the one that was missing. That'll definitely look like a rivet, won't it? And then this one here, we're going to fire up the compressor in a little while when the neighbours get up. And we'll die grind that round and make him look a little bit more like that. But yeah, basically we've re-riveted that, haven't we? That'll do, won't it? Right, they'll do. This is the one we welded. This is the one that we welded the rivet round in again. Just probably why it's slightly bigger. Not a big deal. Obviously we've etch primered it. And again, as I keep saying, this red is sacrificial and we will be painting again, and this is exactly the type of reason why that is. Although this one's bigger, you're not going to notice it when it's painted. It's going to be right underneath the truck. It's just not going to be seen. And it's firm now, it's job done, it looks okay, and it's better than a snot or a weld across here. Reminds me of the lass who works in the local Chinese. Her name's Wan Unglo. Anyway, let's move on. Right, the next mission is to start building the spring pack up. This is the grease out the front hubs of the Foden, out the S80. I do like to grease in between the leaves. We shouldn't suffer from any rust running out because we've painted, but obviously we do want the leaves to slide. Probably a bit old-fashioned now, this, but anyway. So this is the bit, this is the one we've done the studs on. He goes in there. I have already started greasing him, to be honest. If you grease the top of the leaf, you're not going to grease too far. You grease the right amount because obviously the next leaf in is always longer than the previous leaf. Right, I'll go and get the other ones from outside. So again, these have been sat outside for about a week, so it's had plenty of chance to harden off, the paint that is, and just grease them up and put the next one on. So we're getting there now, just one more leaf to go. Just greasing up, make the ride a bit smoother. It'll be like riding in a Scania S500 all this grease, won't it? Lovely. Right, we've got all the leaves in now apart from this top one. We're obviously going to have to clamp it down to compress it to get it in place. Got some new bolts. Unfortunately we had to go for metric. I couldn't get the equivalent correct spec imperial bolt, so we're going for an M12 bolt. As you're probably aware, these bolts when they go through would normally have a sleeve on them, which is usually a wrap with a split down the middle. I presume that's to allow a little bit of flexing as we go along. Anyway, I've got some tube on stock, so I've cut them to length. They're about 4 inch to go in there. So we'll get the clamp in place and then put some bolts in. Obviously going to grease the bolts before I put them in the tubes. Right, we've got those clips on now, these bolts in. They're really tight. You can see there's no air gap under them. There is under these outer two, but there isn't under the middle two. A bit of an indication, if you look down here, you can see where we're squeezing the grease out. Good example of it there, look. So we've really got them compressed. So the main job now is to get this out of the way, get the other spring in, and we'll obviously get that done and we can get on with something else. Well, this one's been a real struggle to get the bolts in. This is the one that's had the replacement leaves, spring leaves. I've had to measure up and it's about, not a lot, it's about 1/8 of an inch overall taller than the one that hasn't had a replacement leaf or two. So that extra height has meant that I couldn't get them to pull up with the 9-inch G-cramps. I used about 4 of these on the other spring and managed to get that in place. So I've had to strip it and reassemble it in the press, and we've really got some meat on it. I've got 3 bolts in and I'm just left with this last one. I'm going to have a go at either squeezing him or pulling down on him. I think we're going to go for pulling down on him and see if we can tap him across. And get another one there, that might just do us. Really close now. Possibly get another one over the top and then push him down there and give that another push, because we're obviously doing the business there. I don't put a tube on this one because it's my mate Richard's and he'll go all bad tempered with me if I bend his handle. So we'll have to do something a bit different. If it were mine, we'd have had a tube on it by now. That's got it. Smacking the teeth if that pops out. Great stuff. 3 clamps and 1 press later. Lovely. I would have definitely preferred to put some tubes in there like I did on the other spring, but you know, we're just not going to get them in. So you know, we're just going to have to want, aren't we? Right, we'll see if we can get him off the press without hurting himself too badly, eh? I don't see this being a lot of fun, but equally there's too much structure to get the picker in. Oh, you heavy old bugger. Oh. See if we can sit them onto them blocks. That'll do us. Well, we've got it out of the press. All I've got to do now is lift this end, kick the blocks out, get it onto the deck. I'm just going to shift the press out of the way. Lovely. That's going outside now to join his mate.